From the Nick and Izzy Network Studios in New York, this is The Hirsh Show. Tonight's guest, Ramones tour manager and author, Monte A. Melnick. And now, here's your host, Kyle Hirshon.
There's so much chaos going on. It's episode 5 of the Hirsh Show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And number 5, yes. And we've got Mr. Monte A. Melnick, who you may recognize from the legendary Ramones. And actually, a couple of weeks ago, I spoke with CJ, and he found it. And now he's here. Thank you so much for coming on, Monte.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to be here and to support Long Island.
Absolutely. And of course, the long-lasting legacy of the Ramones. The Ramones have been around for, well, the band itself was only around for 22 years, but the legacy...
Only? What do you mean only?
But the legacy goes on even stronger. And of course, with people like you, you were the tour manager till the very end. You were with the band from the very beginning, right?
Yeah, pretty much from the most shows. I may have missed a few shows in the beginning, but over 2,200 shows.
That's amazing. So tell me about the newest release of your book, On the Road with the Ramones, which the newest release came out in 2019. Tell me, there it is. There it is right there.
The bonus edition. You got to get the one with the red Ramones on it and it says bonus edition over here. So I added, my book's been out for a while. So each year I've added a number of different things, different editions. In this last edition here, I put up about 40 more pages of stuff that's been happening with the Ramones, and I felt that I missed in the beginning of the few editions that I put out.
Absolutely. So now that unfortunately, all the originals have been gone, and so how did you get involved with the band?
Well, I grew up with Tommy Ramone. I went to junior high school with him. I went to high school with him. I was in bands with Tommy. I was in several bands with Tommy, and then Tommy and I developed the performance studios, which he brought the Ramones in, and I worked with the Ramones there. And so I knew Tommy for over 50 years.
Wow. So, and to think, a band like them, they were hated by the mainstream media back then,
Well, it was more the radio. There was the whole thing that the underground and the papers liked them, actually. And in England, they were huge because England had all these papers, Music Maker, Melody Maker, and all these NME papers that, published all their stuff about the Ramones. So initially the Ramones here in the States, the problem here in the States was the radio. They couldn't get on the radio here in the States.
Of course, they probably had, well, not even with Blitzkrieg Bop at the beginning, they couldn't even get on then.
Oh, no. I mean, the problem was that the Sex Pistols kind of tainted the whole scene with the Ramones, because people said, oh, look at the Sex Pistols. They're going to come into the studio and do stupid things and throw up and do profanity, blah, blah. The Ramones are not like that, but they got brought along into that whole thing. It's unfortunate.
Is that the reason why there is this? Now, is there some sort of rivalry between the Sex Pistols and the Ramones because of what happened?
It's not a rivalry, really. I mean, the whole thing is who was first, who was not first. I mean, the Ramones came over there in 1976. The Sex Pistols were, I don't know what they were doing exactly. A lot of groups came and saw the Ramones. And the Ramones influenced a lot of people over there in 76. And then we came back in 1977 and did a whole tour. And so it picked up over there. So I don't think it's a real rivalry. It was more of a, England wanted, they started the punk rock, and then US, we started the punk rock. It's kind of weird type of thing there, what I mean?
Now, I don't know if you were there, but there was a video that surfaced of Marky Ramone almost getting into it with Johnny Rotten.
I wasn't there, but I saw that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We could change our lives by music. Meaning what we said, attack the political systems. This daft.
How come you wait?
Is it the drugs?
Hey, you talk the talk, but you didn't do the walk. All right. Just like the MC5.
Hello! Johnny Rotten never did the wall.
He didn't.
I thought Marky, or I think Johnny would have really thrown fisticuffs at Marky, and he was just not having it with Johnny.
Well, yeah, I mean, Johnny Rotten, he just hates the Ramones. He just doesn't like the whole thing that he thinks they were first and we're not first, and we started this, they just started that. So it's a whole big thing with them,
Yeah, so it was just all turf wars with Johnny.
Turf wars, yeah.
So let's go back to the CBGBs, because as a kid I read about CBGBs and I wanted to go there. I was like maybe 6 years old when I first read about the CBG. Yes, I was a very rebellious child back then. So I enjoyed listening to the Ramones, as I mentioned to CJ. I've always wanted to go to CBGBs as a kid, but of course, as I said, too young and pure, according to my folks, to be at such an iconic club. What was the environment like in that establishment when it was in its prime?
When did you start listening to the Ramones?
I was about 5 years old when I first
5 years
listening.
old. Holy mackerel. I mean, your parents didn't object to what you were listening to?
Probably my grandparents, but
Did your parents listen to the Ramones?
oh yeah,
Did they ever go to see the Ramones show?
I don't believe they did, but they enjoyed the first album. That was the first album I listened to.
Okay. 5 years old. Wow. Okay. I mean, CBGBs was a whole happening, and the good thing about CBGBs was Hilly let a lot of bands come in, and in the early years, the early 70s, clubs wouldn't let you play unless you played top 40,
Right.
With Hilly, you can come into this club and play all your original material. That was the beauty of the place. That's why all these bands came in and played there and he let them play with all this original material coming in,
Yeah, you get guys, you get Blondie, Talking Heads, and I mean, of course, with the Ramones. I mean, at that time,
about 60 times we played the
wow, 60 times at CBGBs.
I mean, in the beginning, nobody was there. I mean, the only people in the beginning in CBGBs in the early days was other bands, because that's the people that were hanging out there,
Right.
But so that's why we developed a lot of relationships with other bands at the time. But Hilly was great, I mean, he originally wanted CBGBs as country bluegrass club, but he realized that these bands are coming in, and he said, okay, play your material, bring your people in, and if they drink, fine, so that's what the whole scene developed down there with that.
I would have figured that, with the era of 2004, 2007, being the emo, the punk rock phase. I mean, I would have figured that CBGBs would still be around then, but unfortunately, happens.
The problem was, he didn't have total control over the space and stuff, and so the rents kept on going up, blah blah blah. So he had to.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's very bad.
Yeah. So since, as we both have said, you were with them for the very beginning, I always wanted to know, since they have been essentially given the titles of grandfathers of punk. Have you ever heard that term before?
Well, you got to go back farther from punk. Stooges, MC5. Yeah. I mean, Iggy's probably the grandfather of punk.
Iggy Pop, absolutely.
Yeah. Or the MC5 actually too, also, So, I mean, they really didn't like the name punk. Seriously, they just wanted to be a music band, a pop band, actually.
That's
I mean, the first
CJ
people they were listening to was the oh my God, I can't remember. Bay City Rollers. Rollers. I mean, come on, is that punk? They just wanted to be a pop band, not punk. They didn't like the name punk, but they adopted it after a while, so that was fine with them.
Yeah. So I mean, how were they viewed when they just started playing?
Well, viewed by who exactly?
Just, the social crowd, the typical crowd. Because I saw an interview one day from one of Joey's last interviews he did with Conan O'Brien, and
Conan. That was a good interview.
That was. He recalled a show that the band did with Toto, and somebody said, how nice of you to take care of all these people.
Well, that wasn't Toto. I mean, that was the problem is in the beginning when the Ramones first started, booking agents couldn't figure out what to do with them.
Right.
They were adding them to these bills. Black Sabbath, Toto. I mean, Toto, for God's sake. With Toto, the only good thing about Toto, I mean, the other Black Sabbath, we opened up for them, and it was rough because they didn't want to hear the Ramones. They were throwing stuff on the stage. We opened up for Ted Nugent. The band they were pelting the band with food and stuff. There's a famous picture online. If you ever see it, Johnny and Dee Dee were giving the finger to
I'll put it up right there.
30,000 people.
Yeah.
You guys, because they didn't understand, and with Toto, the only good thing about Toto is by the time the audience woke up, we were off the stage, so that was okay.
Yeah.
But that was the problem in the beginning. The booking agents couldn't really figure out where to put the band. So we figured better just headline the shows, instead of like opening up for these crazy bands.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Johnny Winters too,
Jeez. What a dangerous combination.
No, it was rough because they didn't understand the band, and they just wanted to hear the main act at the time. And with Black Sabbath, their audience was pretty, they were throwing batteries and ice picks. And, it was dangerous.
I would figure, an act like Black Sabbath would embrace this kind of music, but no.
Well, in the beginning, the people didn't understand, but they just wanted to hear the Black Sabbath at the time. They didn't know what the Ramones were doing. And the Ramones were raw, bang, 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 3 minutes, 3-minute songs, and they just didn't understand it. That's the problem. A lot of people, the booking agents couldn't understand the Ramones in the beginning. That was the problem.
And then, of course, later on, they became hits overseas, as we mentioned. Some of the biggest shows were in South America.
Yeah, that was amazing. We developed a big fan base down in Argentina, Brazil, Chile. That was because we went down there early on and played down there before a lot of bands played down there. And we reconnected with the kids down there. The Ramones they're saying something to young people, they can understand it. And also the young people could play the Ramones, It wasn't, you don't have to be a great musician, you hack it out and you can play the song. So they've developed a huge following down in South America. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I was watching one of their last shows. It was in '96. They were playing in Buenos Aires, and I could see the crowd just, because nowadays when you see big rock acts, AC/DC, you see Kiss, you see them play at what's the name of that stadium? Buenos Aires, River Plate Stadium.
That's where we played.
Yeah, you see it's like a tidal wave of people just jumping up and down. But damn.
No, I mean, it was amazing down there. The Ramones got a good taste of what it was like to be a major act, a big act down there.
Yes.
The problem is that, Johnny didn't like that because you couldn't do anything. You couldn't get out of the hotels. There was like hundreds of people out day and night. We got kicked out of several hotels there because the crowd, the fans were like breaking the windows, and they were out there all night, like chanting and stuff. They got a good taste of it. I could, go outside and walk around, which I liked. But Johnny or Dee Dee, they just couldn't get out. They got a taste of what it's like to be like a major act, a big act down there. That was probably the place that they got that taste.
Wow. I mean, there really was no common medium in between. I'm pretty sure they wanted some sort of fame, but holy crap, when they got it, that was like pretty much a rude awakening.
Yeah, it's when you get it to that state, it's you got to deal with it,
Yeah. I mean, poor Joey. I mean, because I know he's had, his issues and all that stuff, but man, that must have been hard on him.
Well, yeah, he actually he understood it better than Johnny. Johnny just didn't like Johnny wanted to go out and buy stuff at a store or something, and he couldn't do that, because it was hard for us to go to a restaurant and eat. We had to close the restaurant and then go there and eat because the fans were always around us. The airport, we were one of the people in the airport. They let us go through the back of the airport to get out of a plane.
Wow.
I think the president of Argentina or something, and maybe Michael Jackson and us. So there were so many people came to the airport to meet us. We couldn't go through the front. We had to go down through the back. It was amazing.
I mean, it was like Beatlemania, but for punk rock.
No, it was amazing. Yeah.
So, I mean, when the band decided to call it a day, I mean, what was next for you? Because I know that you've been keeping, like, basically being the ambassador of the band ever since they stopped.
Yeah, ambassador was one name for it. Actually, Marky came to me and said, "You want to manage me?" So I managed Marky for his first 2 albums. I put him
Wow.
out on the road. I got a tour manager, so that's what I did for right after Ramones, and then I worked with several other groups: Degeneration, Paul Winter, Ronnie Spector. Worked with Ronnie.
Oh,
Spector.
wow.
But I
She
mean,
must
right?
have been amazing.
Oh yeah, she's great. If you ever get to see her shows, she's terrific. Ronnie
Mm.
Spector's really great.
Absolutely.
And so I worked with Marky there for a while, being a tour manager and a manager are 2 different things. About a year and a half, 2, I worked with him. We parted amicably, but I got him his first album and I put him on his first tour.
Yeah, because I remember
Marky Ramone and the Intruders was the first.
Marky Ramone and the Intruders. I'll put a graphic up
Great,
there.
group,
Right
very
now.
good, very good group.
Yeah, now he's got Marky Ramone's Blitzkrieg.
Yeah.
And I understand at one point at the very beginning, like something about the Beach Boys and Mike Love.
They did the song Rockaway Beach.
Yeah, Rockaway Beach.
They brought Marky on stage when he played Long Island.
Yeah, that was the Paramount right here in Huntington, just about 20 minutes away. That, I mean, when I first listened to that song, the first thing I thought of was, how come the Beach Boys haven't done it?
Well, the Ramones are heavily influenced by the Beach Boys.
Yeah, because didn't they also do a cover of a Surfin' Safari?
Surfin' Bird. I know that wasn't Beach Boys though.
Oh, but geez, I mean, you see all these bands that have been heavily influenced by the Ramones. You would think nowadays, if any of them were still around, would you believe if they were still around, would they have continued as the Ramones?
Yes, sure. I think they would have continued. Yes, I mean, they stopped. Basically, Joey wasn't feeling it well, and Johnny felt that he was the top of the game at the time. I think they would have come back, if Joey was feeling better.
Yeah. Unfortunately, cancer sucks.
Well, yeah, that's one that's one way of putting it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ramones' legacy, basically, if we want to talk about the legacy of the Ramones.
Yeah, sure.
They were kind of like the Johnny Appleseed of punk rock, of rock music. Johnny Appleseed went across the states and planted apples all over the place.
Right.
The Ramones, when they first came out, they were just playing all these small clubs, small towns all over it. And then we went all over to Europe and played all these different cities. And so they were spreading the seed. People would come and see them and said, hey, they can do it. We can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that hard. Have to have a good songs, play proficiently. You don't have to be an instrumental genius or anything,
Yeah, I mean, they prioritized in bar chords.
All these groups came and saw them as young people. I mean, we were in Cincinnati, Ohio, and all of a sudden these kids come back. Hey, we're Metallica. We love you guys. Blah blah blah. They're just kids.
Yeah,
and they all give credit to Eddie Vedder, U2, for God's sakes. That song, the Miracle of Joey Ramone, on their album, and all these groups realized that they saw the Ramones, and they said, if they can do it, we can do it. So that's the legacy of the Ramones. They were kind of like, they spread the seed out, and all these bands said, wow, we can do it. They can do it. We can do it.
The biggest act I can definitely recall having a major influence on the Ramones is Green Day.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. I'm a Metallica, Soundgarden, Rancid, U2. It's Pearl Jam.
Yeah,
they're big.
The whole grunge era, really.
Yeah,
you could really thank the Ramones for that.
No, seriously. I mean, when we did Lollapalooza tour in 1996, headlining was Metallica and Soundgarden, Rancid, Ramones. So I put the band on stage early on, and I'm standing there. All of a sudden, I'm looking on the side, and all these other bands, Metallica, they're all there watching. And they said, we love you guys. We were influenced by you guys. And of course, they became good friends with the band at the end. But they actually acknowledged that, that's the legacy of the Ramones,
Yeah, and nowadays, they become even more commercially successful that's kind of like the thing, with somebody dying or whatever, God rest their soul, they become even more successful.
Well, that's the thing. Now, the Ramones are so big now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, like the merchandise. I mean, case in point, your hat right now.
Yeah, the logo and stuff. A lot of people to have shirts with the Ramones, they don't know who the Ramones are. They just like the logo.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll tell this joke 1,002 times because I told it 1,001 times.
Right.
If the Ramones were this big when I was working for them, I would have gotten a big raise. They're huge now. I mean, they're on TV commercials. They're on soundtracks of movies.
Mm-hmm.
People are wearing the T-shirts. I mean, when they were alive, they couldn't really get all this stuff going. That's the sad part about it. I mean, the 4 originals. I mean, there's still a Ramones legacy going out there. There's Richie Ramone, terrific band he's got.
Yep.
CJ Ramone, of course, you talked to CJ.
CJ,
Great.
wonderful guy.
I mean, he was out there for years too. And Marky Ramone's still out there hacking away. So people still want the Ramones. I mean, they can't get the Ramones, but there's still not the original Ramones. That's the part,
right.
Sad part about it. The 4 people, original Ramones that were there, are not here with us.
Exactly.
Very sad. Very sad.
It is. But the fact that, we're able to relive some of these stories, we do have a few Ramones remaining. And of course, people like you and Richie. I don't know about Elvis Ramone. I don't know if he's still. I don't think he's doing any Ramone stuff.
No, I don't think.
Because he did what? Only like 2 gigs?
Yeah, he was in the Ramones for 2 shows. But, but he's Blondie. I mean, he made a lot more money with Blondie than with the Ramones.
Yeah.
He did a lot of the Eurythmics, and he's got a group out, the Hungry Hearts or something. Or he plays a lot. He does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But he wanted to be a Ramone, actually. I mean, that's why he was in the group for a couple of shows. And but Marky came back, and he realized, go with Blondie would be better, and then that worked out better.
I'm looking at Marky because Marky's very active on social media, and the fact that he's still the power horse that he always was, still doing those 8th notes. Those that was the pioneering drum beat of that era. And
are you a musician?
Yep. Obviously, I've got a couple guitars. I've got a bass. I've got a full drum kit downstairs.
What's your main instrument?
Actually, that guitar right there.
Guitar, then. Okay.
And since the Ramones songs were very easy to learn, I mean, that's kind of how I learned how to, gain more stamina playing, because that's the big thing with the Ramones. You had to have a lot of stamina in order to play Ramones songs.
Yes. People don't realize it was not 3 chords easy. It was a very rigid thing. You had to be right on the ball. Anything that was outside the whole thing would throw the whole thing off. Clem didn't really have enough time to get into the band. He was thrown into the band very quickly. I mean, Gary Kurfers was the manager. He was managing Blondie and all that. Blondie was doing off or something. He said to Clem, Ramone's easy. It's easy. Go play with them. It's easy. It wasn't that easy.
Right. No,
Clem would have gotten it, but he just didn't have enough time because we had all these shows coming up.
Exactly.
They threw him into the band, and any little bit in the middle of a set that goes off, that throws the whole set off.
Yeah.
Very rigid.
No, because in the record, let's say Blitzkrieg Bop, for example, in the record, it's like, it's nice and easy to play, but when it's live, it's super fast. I'm like, how do these people do it?
It got faster and faster.
Faster.
That's what Richie would say.
Yeah,
it's feeling so much faster now.
That's like the opposite of what musicians would be now. They'd be playing slower, but no, the Ramones decided, that we're gonna play faster because why not?
Exactly.
So we're running a little bit out of time, but
already
we've been talking for quite a bit, actually.
Really?
Because the Ramones are just it's so much fun to talk about music in general. So are you still involved with the music scene in any sense?
No, I do a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. What happened after Ramones? I worked with several groups. I did Marky, then Degeneration, Ronnie Spector. Then I moved over to the New York Hall of Science, where I was the audiovisual supervisor there for about 16 and a half years. Then I moved over to the Queens Theater in the Park, where I was an in-house manager.
Wow.
That's my last gig. And of course, now theaters, unfortunately, Broadway and theaters it was a live theater there, 500 seat theater. I'm just waiting for that to get back into what's going to happen. Hopefully soon, like a couple of months.
Hopefully soon, yeah.
I mean, as far as the music scene goes, no more. I just kind of space out of that.
Just laying back, just smelling the fruits of your labor, I guess. Right. Whatever it was, but
smelling them, yeah.
But as a fan of the Ramones, just thank you for keeping the band essentially in one place. Making sure they got around because once I was talking with CJ, we were talking about the van, the assigned seats in a way. You were driving Johnny Shotgun
right there. See, there's a van.
There it is, yeah, in the background, yeah. So you got you driving Johnny Shotgun. Oh, was it Joey in the row behind? I got to go back.
I think it was Marky, then Joey, then
Joey, and then now
CJ was only in the back.
Yeah, because he told me
CJ liked to sit in the back because they try to sneak smoking out the back window. Johnny hated smoking. I didn't like smoking tobacco either, so they try to sneak cigarettes in the back because they open the window. But I mean, if you look at my book, we had all sorts of different vehicles. We did buses. We did station wagon buses, and vans, a lot of vans.
Yeah.
They developed the van tour basically in the States because buses are very expensive, and you had to sleep on the bus too to make it economical. They didn't like sleeping; they liked hotels. So we did little tours, like a couple of weeks on the West Coast. Somebody would drive the van there. I'd drive the van up and down. I had drivers too in the van too. And then we come back for a week or two, and then they do the East Coast for a couple of weeks in a van. They like that because they can, in a van, you can just hop in the van and do stuff easily instead of a bus. Bus is very, very expensive. They couldn't really afford a lot of, the bus.
Yeah. Because,
the funny thing about that is the crew actually at the end there got a bus because they had to be at the venue early, and they had to stay there late, and then they had to drive overnight and sleep in the bus. So we pull up in these the Lollapalooza festival. All of a sudden, this big bus would pull in, and the Ramones crew would get out, and then I'd pull in with the van, and we get out in the van. People say, "What's going on here?" The crew's got a bus, and you're coming out in this van. It was kind of funny at the end there.
It is, and I'm pretty sure if, as I said, if they were still around, I'm pretty sure it'd be a different story. Since they have now become more commercially successful that they've already have, I'm pretty sure then you could be able to afford a bus.
Yeah, definitely. A bus and the hotels. That's the two things.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen, once everything comes back. I'm interested to see what Marky's going to do. I already know what CJ's going to do. So,
Yeah, he's kind of semi-retired.
Yeah.
Marky will be out there hacking around. Richie will be out there playing.
I got to definitely check them out when I can.
Yeah.
Monte A. Melnick, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you talking about your story. Live long and prosper, ladies and gentlemen. And hopefully by the time the year is over, we'll be back out watching these amazing shows, going out. And hopefully everybody will be healthy enough.
Yeah, don't forget the new book.
Out on the remote.
It's got to be with the Red Ramones, and it has to say bonus edition.
Exactly. Where can people find it?
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Monte A. Melnick. We'll see you next time on The Hirsh Show. Peace out.